Hey y'all, Chris here from Brew, Fort Worth's first meadery and mead hall. We got a special episode for you guys today because we're jumping into the equipment that you need to make mead like a pro at home. I'm going to walk you through all the equipment that you're going to need to get you going, and I'm going to show you what we use here in the meadery and show you the links between what you use at home versus what we do here and how it's the same concepts but just on a bigger scale. So, if you haven't already, like and follow below so you don't miss out, and stick around. Let's get right into it. Hey y'all, we're here in the equipment room at Brew, and we're going to go over the equipment that you need to make mead at home. There's not much to it. It's not a lot of equipment that you need to get yourself going, not in the beginning anyway. You can actually get yourself going with very few items. At the basic, you need a fermenter and an airlock. You need a secondary carboy. You need some sanitizer, a hydrometer to take your sugar readings, and something to mix it all up. It's really simple to get yourself going, and basically what we have here in front of us is that homebrew fermenter made by Spadell. This is basically a vessel, and a fermenter is just a vessel. All it's made to do is hold the wort, and hold the wort throughout fermentation, or the must when we're talking about wine. So it basically is the vessel. You will mix your honey and water inside this. You will add your yeast, and you will leave it here until the yeast has finished the fermentation. On top here we got an airlock. So an airlock, the way it's designed, it lets gases escape without letting gases get back in. You fill it halfway about with a sanitizer. You got a fill line here on the side. You'll fill it with sanitizer, and then the gas is able to get out without anything getting back in. Keeps all the fruit flies out, keeps all them bugs out. So works really good. You definitely need to have an airlock on the top as well, and if you don't, you're going to get pressurization in your fermenter and it's going to explode. So definitely not a good thing. You do not want to have that. Like I said, this is a simple homebrew fermenter. It's 30 liters. Next to me we got one that we use here in the meadery. This is a 200 liter or 220 liter variable capacity fermenter. It's made in stainless steel, whereas the homebrew one is made in plastic, but you can get smaller ones made in stainless as well if you want to spend the money. But this one here is nice. This is about the smallest we use in the meadery. We don't go much smaller than that. This makes us any test batches or any special batches that we want to do. Also perfect for anything we want to barrel age, because it's at 53 gallons. It is the perfect size to transfer into a barrel. So we use that. The lid is a variable capacity lid as well. So if we only want to do a half batch, there's a tube here and a pump, and that we can set it off halfway or 3/4 way or wherever we want to set the level. Once your fermentation is done, you're going to need a secondary vessel or a carboy. I only have a 1 gallon carboy here, but you can get these in 5 gallon carboys too. They're basically just a glass vessel that you're going to use to store your mead for a long time. Once the fermentation is done in the primary fermenter, all your yeasts and anything else is going to settle to the bottom. It's going to make kind of like a cake on the bottom of your wine. So what you're going to want to do is transfer off that, because that's going to give you a lot of off flavors. So you will need a racking cane, which is basically a siphon, and you can get those very cheap at any homebrew supply store, and you're going to siphon it out and into your carboy. And you're going to leave as little space as possible in the top of your carboy. You want no space, because any air can cause oxidization, which is the enemy of all fermented beverages. So you don't want any air in there, because that will basically spoil the mead after long periods of time. On top of that, what you're going to need is some sanitizer, because of course before you use anything, we got some sanitizer here. It's some SaniClean. It's not what we use in the commercial brewery or commercial meadery. We use parasitic acid and caustic soda to clean, but for home brewing, SaniClean will work perfect for you. And you just want to clean everything and sanitize everything before you actually add any ingredients into it, just to be sure that there's no bacteria in there, because those bacteria will compete with the yeast, cause bad fermentations or even spoilage, and we definitely don't want that. So you're going to need some sanitizer to sanitize all your equipment before you touch anything with it. Very important. I mentioned earlier you would need a hydrometer. I have a simple hydrometer right here. Basically the way this works is you're going to float this into your wort, and when it floats, the heavier, the denser the wort, the more sugar in the wort, basically the higher this is going to float. So you're going to get your reading off the side, and that's going to tell you the density of the liquid, and that's going to tell you how much sugar is in the liquid. So that's good to know when you're starting the fermentation, because the way we're going to calculate our alcohol by volume at the end is the starting sugar minus the finishing sugar, and there's a formula for it. You can find calculators online, but basically you need to know the starting and the finishing sugars, or densities, and that's what this guy is going to tell you right here. And you can also check throughout the week or throughout a few weeks that the fermentation is going on, where you're at, how the progress is going, by taking samples. Now we do have another unit here. This is called the tilt. This does the exact same thing, but this one, what we do is we sanitize it. We actually drop it into the fermenter, and it floats on top of the mead. And the way it floats on an angle. The denser the liquid, the different angle that it's going to float on, and that gives you a reading back to your phone. So this is real cool too. It's a lot more money. It's cost $125, but it will give a reading to your phone of temperature and of gravity. So real cool little device. If you want to invest in that up front, you could. If not, you definitely don't need it. You can get away with the old-fashioned model, which is $10. So that will work for you to get you going. So that's basically it, guys. Again, like I said, not a lot of equipment needed to get yourself started. The most important is a fermenter. I'm pretty sure everything else you'll already have in the house. You'll already have, for example, a paddle or some sort of spoon to mix it up in small batches, you know. You'll have measuring cups to measure everything out, I'm sure. So basically everything else you'd already have. The big purchase up front is a fermenter, and this fermenter, I'm not sure the cost exactly, but you can usually get a fermentation bucket for around 30 bucks at any homebrew supply store. So you should be able to get all the stuff you need for under $60 to get your first batch going, not including the honey or the ingredients into the wine, but $60 should give you a good start. Once your wine is ready, you're going to need something to bottle it and cork it, so you will need they make these nice little siphons that you can use for home, and you basically fill them one bottle at a time. That would work perfectly fine for a small batch like this. And then you would need a corker, basically a floor corker, which you can get at any homebrew supply store as well. And there's different models on that. We're not going to get into it, but you would need a corker and a siphon to fill it, basically. So that's it. You don't need to filter necessarily. We filter here in the meadery. We do have a plate filter. It's a 40 pad plate filter, and that will filter anything we do. But if you're patient and you wait with time, it will clear on its own. So you can, the advantage of having the glass carboy is you can watch it, and as it gets clear, just don't store it in the sunlight, but as it clears out, you know when it's time to bottle, and you know you want to let it age out pretty well as well. So there's no rush there, and it makes a filter not necessarily at all. So you're good to go with that. So that's basically it, guys. That's the equipment that we use, and that's how we do it here in the meadery. We do use this small fermenter, which is not jacketed. We have the bigger fermenters as well. I'll bring you guys outside and we'll have a look at the bigger fermenters, and that will be basically it for this video. So let me show you the fermenters that we use and explain you how they are with the conical bottoms and the glycol jackets that they have on them. Great, stick around. Alright, so right here behind me you see the fermenters that we use in the meadery. Now, I want to say again, we're not open yet. We're not open for business. We're opening in the next few weeks. So these are not actually in use right now. We're opening our location here in Fort Worth, and we're still doing some work. So we still got to get the glycol systems in. We're still waiting on our whirlpool. We still got quite a few things that need to come in before these are up and running. But as I mentioned, a fermenter at the basics is just a vessel. So here we have 600-gallon fermenters, or 20 barrels, or just over 600 gallons actually. So 20-barrel fermenters. They are hollow inside. They'll hold 20 barrels of mead. And they have a jacket around them. That's what makes these ones special, and what makes them so expensive is they are jacketed with a glycol jacket. So we can actually control the temperature on each individual fermenter. That's something that you don't get on the smaller fermenters or on the homebrew stuff that we just talked about. But like I said, again, you don't really need it on a small scale. When we're fermenting in something this big, the fermentation itself creates heat, and we can have a big degree of difference versus outside temperature versus inside temperature, so that glycol system is absolutely necessary to control the heat on the fermentation and keep it right in the ideal range for the yeast. Too hot, we start producing off flavors. Too low, we're going to get stalled fermentations or other issues. So you want to keep it right in that sweet spot, and any change in temperature will affect the taste of the final product, and that's part of the fun of being a mead maker. The other thing you're going to notice about these fermenters in the back is they do have a conical bottom, and they do have a valve on the bottom of the tank. And that's because, like I told you, the yeast and anything else during fermentation is going to settle down to the bottom, and we don't want it to sit on that long term. So with these style tanks, we can basically open up the valve on the bottom and let all that yeast flush out without losing the wine that's up top. So it just makes it simpler and easier for us to use in a commercial setting. We don't have to necessarily transfer from one tank to the other. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, like and follow. Be sure to comment below if you have any questions or anything else you want to see. Be more than happy to speak with the followers. So let us know if you want to see something else. And until next time, you guys have a good one.